Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha. Visit our website at classicalyoga.org and please stand up for the Dharma. The intent of Hatha Yoga. Unfortunately, it is the MO, the modus operandi, of the elitist mindset, which gave birth to sexism, racism, colonialism. This is the mindset of entitlement that simply feels entitled to take from others and do with it as they wish. Sadly, this has happened innumerable times within the Hindu yoga dharma. If you review our podcast on the secret yoga and many of our other podcasts, you'll clearly get a picture of what has happened to our once sacred Sanskrit, Tamil, Hindu term yoga, which, remember, is first and foremost a Sanskrit word, and Sanskrit is the religious language of the Hindus. It's not a secular language. And the meaning of the Sanskrit, Hindu, Tamil word yoga, yogam, is yuj atman brahman cha, to yoke, yuj, to one's soul, atmana, and soul source, Brahman. And remember, Brahman has absolutely nothing to do with the monotheistic term God. The so-called yoga that is so prevalent today is actually one of several Hindu yogas called Hatha Yoga. And of all the classic Hindu yogas, for example, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Japa Yoga, Nada Yoga, Natha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, it was Hatha Yoga that the rishis said to keep secret, to not display. And that's because this area of Hinduism deals with physical postures that are actually designed to ultimately take one deep into the realization of their Atmana. Sadly, this yoga of today has been almost totally distorted beyond recognition into simply a physical exercise routine. And of course, there are postures associated with Hatha Yoga, and these are extremely beneficial physically, mentally, emotionally, and soulfully. But to extrapolate them out of the Hindu yoga dharma is a tremendous insult to the classic Hindu yoga dharma. Now, many in this spurious, massive yoga movement make reference to the Saiva Hindu guru Patanjali, and this Saiva Hindu guru actually made no mention of any specific asana at all. So, in a sense, it's almost completely irrelevant to what is being passed off today as so-called yoga. However, there are Hindu scriptures that do detail the various Hatha Yoga asanas or postures, and they also go into the esoteric areas of the chakras and kundalini that are so enticing to many today. And these are essentially the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the Giranda Samhita, the Siva Samhita, and the Siddha Siddhanta Padati of Yogi Gorakhanath. And all of these Hindu yogis basically said the same thing, to keep this Hatha Yoga secret. Now, back to Patanjali for a moment. He did specify that it is extremely important to understand the words that we use. In the Yoga Sutras, Pada 1, Sutra 19, he said, Bhava pratyayo videha prakriti layanam. For those who are immersed in the world, they should not focus on that which is physical. And as far as word usage, Sabda yananupate vastu sunyo vikalpaha. Pada 1, Sutra 9. Meaning, when word knowledge is devoid of facts, one enters into delusion. So therefore, the misuse of simply the Sanskrit Hindu word yoga is delusional from the get-go, because the prefix is absolutely necessary for clarity. So this area of postures is truly called Hatha Yoga, And in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a classic text on the asanas, Yogi Svatmarama said, Hatha Vidya Bhaveda Yavate Guya Niveda Tu Prakash Varanam, Sutra 11. This knowledge of Hatha Yoga is powerful when kept secret and loses power when it is displayed. Yogi Goraknath, who was apparently a very stern yogi in his Siddhasiddhanta Padatti, said, Nava Chakram Kaladaram Trilakshya Vyoma Panchakam Samya Getat Najanati Sa Yogi Nama Darakaha. He was basically saying if one does not know the 9 chakras, the 16 containers, the 3 special areas, and the 5 vyomas or akashas, one is a yogi in name only and not a real yogi. From the Siva Samhita, Yoga Sastram Middam Gopyamasmabhi Paribhasitam Subhaktaya Pradatavyam Trilokye Cha Mahatmane, Sutra 19. Meaning we, Siva Parvati, softly declare this very secret knowledge of yoga. This gift of yoga is to be revealed only to pure devotees and great souls in all 3 worlds. From the Giranda Samhita, the yogi is to avoid the public and especially women. The goal of samadhi is only attained by one who becomes indifferent to one's own body, family, relations, and wealth, everything. It's from Giranda Samhita 6:21. All Hindus follow the Hindu yoga, religious, spiritual lifestyle to one degree or another. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, Raja Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Japa Yoga, Nada Yoga, Natha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga. However, the yogi or yogini, it's for males and female, is basically a Hindu renunciate. These are celibates who live apart from society. So to take this sacred Hatha Yoga discipline and display it to the world is beyond absurd, beyond crass, and simply another example of the elitist mindset. Now again, stretching, relaxation is absolutely wonderful. And if one is doing stretches and relaxation exercises that were taken from the Hatha Yoga of Hinduism, to be honest, they should actually simply call their class stretching and relaxation and then give credit. Say, look, this comes from the Hatha Yoga of the Hindus, but since I am not a Hindu and I am not teaching the Hindu religion, we are going to honestly call this class stretching and relaxation. And again, the Hatha Yoga was supposed to be kept fairly secret, not on display, and taught by qualified Hindus in a religious context. Now, the so-called yoga of today basically fits into a couple of different categories. You have those who simply misuse this one Sanskrit Hindu word yoga, and that's it. No more Sanskrit, and they're just all about pure exercise, all English terms. And then you have a more prevalent aspect where many use numerous Sanskrit Hindu terms without recognition, of course, like namaste and shanti, shakti, and they even start using the actual Sanskrit names for the various asanas. And this yoga is very insidious and very blind, actually, to not recognize that what people are talking about is actually a fully established Hindu religious tradition without recognition. It's kind of like the absurdity of teaching a class in baptism and underwater therapy and making absolutely no mention of Christianity, or going into various biblical stories talking about Christianity without recognizing that this is actually Christianity, and as a teacher, I'm not really a Christian. That's how absurd today's so-called yoga is, which has given birth to such tremendous nonsense. We have, obviously, the hot yoga, power yoga, doggy yoga, laughter yoga, nude yoga, goat yoga, beer yoga, ad nauseum. And it is really the fault of Indian Hindus who have allowed this to happen, and they actually perpetuate it because many of these so-called gurus have massive organizations. So when it comes to religion, spirituality, if we focus on picture, personality, and price tag, we're basically into a potentially dangerous cultic situation. So let's simply look at a few of the Sanskrit Hindu terms that are used without recognition to see just how absurd today's so-called yoga, even if they call it Hatha Yoga, is without recognizing this is all about the Hindu dharma, Hinduism, the Hindu religion, and which, again, should be taught by a qualified Hindu to anybody who chooses to learn. Many of these so-called classes begin with Om chanting. The Om is found in the Hindu scriptures, in Mandukya Upanishad, and associated with the first and primal Hindu deity, Ganapati, Ganesha, animal, human, divine, Vaishvanara Tejasya Prajna. In the Hatha Yoga, which are Hindu devotional postures to, again, the elements, to nature, to the various animals, and specifically the Hindu deities, the Hindu devas and devis, male and female. There's no posture to Jesus. There's no posture to Allah or Muhammad or Abraham or Moses. We have Ganesha's brother, Skandasana, the warrior. Crouch asana. Here one needs to understand about Palani and Palani Hills Mandir in Tamil Nadu. We have Mayurasana, the peacock pose, which is the Vahana of both Muruga and Krishna. We have Hanuman Asana. Here we are deep into the Hindu scripture of the Ramayana and Hanumanji and Ram and Sita. For Shiva, we have Matsyendrasana, Shiva and Parvati. We have Nataraj Asana for the dancing Shiva. We have a classic that is shown often on TV, Virabhadrasana, the standing warrior pose. And here one has to know the story of Daksha and Sati and Shiva and the warrior Virabhadra. We also have Shiva as Bhairavasana, the fierce Shiva. We have Vajra Asana, the thunderbolt pose, which is associated with Indra, sometimes also with Shiva and Kundalini, the spine itself. We have Padmasana, the lotus pose, and many of our Hindu deities are seen sitting or standing on lotus flowers. And Padma is also associated with the Hindu female deity, Mahalakshmi. We also have a moon pose for Shiva, Chandra. And remember, Harihara, Ekarupa, Guna, Shila, Shiva, and Vishnu are friends in the Hindu Yoga Dharma. So we have the moon, Chandra, and we have Surya Namaskar, the 12 different positions for worship of Surya Vishnu. And we also have many asanas to the various incarnations of Vishnu. Now we're getting into the Vaishnava Sampradaya within Hinduism. Wow, this is so deep into the Hindu Yoga Dharma that it's just beyond belief that very few even question when they hear these Sanskrit terms what this is all about. Talk about being deluded and having a religion totally distorted, and one being actually covertly, in a sense, led into Hinduism, which is actually not true to begin with because the teacher's not even a Hindu. See how confusing it all becomes? So we have asanas to the avatars of Vishnu. We have Matsya Asana, the fish pose. We have Kurmasana, the turtle pose. We have his incarnation of Vamana, the dwarf, Supta Trivikramasana. We have him as Narasimha, the half-man, half-lion. And we have Vishnu as Ananta Asana. We have his Vahana, his vehicle, Garuda Asana. We have asanas to Hindu sages, like Visvamitra Asana, Kapila Asana. And again, logically, it's almost laughable that there are no asanas to any prophets within any other religion. We have a Buddhasana, but remember, Buddhism comes right out of Hinduism. The Buddha was a Hindu. So the bottom line is that throughout history, whole nations, cultures, and religions have been abused in varying degrees. The abuse of the Hindu yoga dharma has been going on for centuries. Many Hindus are at fault for not protecting their dharma, not learning enough about their dharma to protect it. Non-Hindus who have partaken in the ongoing abuse of the Hindu yoga dharma really need to cease these violations if they have any conscience, any sense of honesty. However, there may also be non-Hindus who find the Hindu yoga religion to be the religion of choice. In that case, go, study, find a Hindu who will help you become a Hindu. And then maybe decades later, you can teach this profound Hindu yoga dharma. Jai Ganesha, Jai Hindu yoga dharma. Namaste.